This is Viewer Takeover. We film every Monday night. We bring it to YouTube every Tuesday. I think that's fairly accurate these days. We're sort of back on schedule. What can I tell you? My name's Brian Paul from this channel right here, PSVR Without Parole. And the guys to my right, the boys, Dave from Dave Station V.
I just told you not to do that, Brian. I told you not to.
I know.
I've reached my limit here with the. I don't even ride motorcycles, man. I don't know what I've become Apocalypse Rider, the host.
You thought it was a lawnmower, then you thought it was a motorcycle. It's a chainsaw. And
okay, fine.
That guy on the right-hand side of the screen is AJ from the Underground, PSVR Underground.
Soon when the Sony men come, he'll bring us Hitman 3 through 1. Then when 47 is done, we'll take our leave and go.
Oh, that was what we were preparing the whole time. I like it.
This is what AJ did with his day. Instead of like making a video or doing a live stream, he's like,
all day long.
I'm going to write a sea shanty.
Sea shanty TikTok. I know it's a thing that's going on. You're all over sea shanty TikTok.
We're going to find the white whale named PSVR 2, boys.
And every week on Viewer Takeover, I like to thank a whole lot of people. The first person we want to thank, of course, is J-Cape GameCat for that awesome Viewer Takeover introduction.
Really good. He made me and AJ look incredible. Best pictures he could have found.
You know how much footage he must have sifted through to find that picture of me smiling?
Yeah.
That is the only photogenic picture of me I've ever seen in my life.
AJ is the most dour person I've ever met. He never smiles.
I don't even know what dower means, but I agree.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's a little too metal for a full teeth smile. That's all I'm saying. Although that looked terrible. I won't do that again.
I will tell you that, I mean, after Perfected Insanity's introduction and after J-Cape's introduction, whoever comes next is going to have a lot to live up to. And I hate to put this on you right now, Game Cats, but
step it up. The bar has been raised.
That was the last one in the queue, so somebody's going to step up and try to deliver on an amazing Viewer Takeover introduction. Remember, it doesn't have to be complicated. Just point the camera at yourself. We want to see your beautiful, lovely face, your bloodshot eyes and your coffee-stained teeth, and just say, "Hi, my name's Brian. Welcome to Viewer Takeover." Don't say Brian. No. Use your name.
No.
Use your
name. The bar's been raised. We need to see some festival quality short films for these intros.
I mean, yeah, no, these are getting, honestly, they are getting like better and better. Like, they're just always awesome. And thank you guys so much for the effort that you put into these. These are so like entertaining to us.
But it's not really chronologically that they're getting better, because Brian will be like, I found this three months ago, and like I just dug it out of the grave, and here it is. Yeah.
Kind of. Right. Wise from your grave. And send it to withoutparole@gmail.com. We also want to thank the loyalists of the loyal. These guys down here. These people went to patreon.com/withoutparolegames. Please remember that you never need to give us money to be part of this awesome community. But if you want to support the channel in the absolute best way, just head on over to patreon.com/withoutparolegames and hook us up with $1 or more every month. Just like our Patreon leaders, MTM the GameCat, T. Flaros, and Joshua McCrory. We love you so much. Thank you so much. AJ, who else do we want to thank this week?
We would also like to thank those who support us in another way by changing their name on Google to YouTube to something GameCat related, or something GameCat adjacent as you, and something GameCat adjacent would like to say. And all you have to do is just change your name, then leave a comment on any video, not during a live stream, any video that is finished publishing, and just say #GameCat. And that's how we find it. And this week we have 2 new GameCats to welcome to the GameCat Dungeon. Starting with Party Like It's #GameCat99.
All right.
Right. Yeah. It's hotcakes, obviously.
But here's the thing. No. Don't party like it's 1999, because they didn't have coronavirus in 1999. So don't do that.
Right. Hotcakes also threw me for a loop, because he finally changed his avatar. All this time, it's been like the bald head with the green background that we've been seeing for the last 200 episodes of Viewer Takeover. And now it's like a YouTube symbol. And I was like, who the hell is this? I was like, who's this making fun of me? I was like, oh, no, that makes sense. Who else we got?
We've also got the GameCat Shadow Gandalf. You shall not pass.
Is Shadow Gandalf like Dark Link or something? Or like, what is he like, the bad Gandalf?
It could be like one of those comic spin-offs kind of deals.
I'm sure somebody will tell us in the comments.
Yeah, please tell us. We'd like to know all about that.
But thank you so much for changing your name to GameCat. Remember, as AJ said, please put #GameCat in the comments below if you change your name and want a shout out on next week's show. But Dave, now that all the introductions and thank yous are out of the way, what do we really do here on the show?
Well, the way that I like to describe it is like the show is like the Wild West, and we're gold hunters, we're gold prospectors, and we go out there sifting through all the things we can find. And when we find the gold in our little sifters, in those little rivers, after months of backbreaking work, we decide that these are the best questions that we could have possibly found. It's not even gold at all. It's a YouTube question. And then we answer them on the show. Sorry, you get it, right?
I know
Anyways,
way
there's
less
three
now than I
questions
did
this
before.
week. There's three
That was
questions
the
this
best
week.
explanation, I think.
Yeah. The way you can get us these questions, though, is if you leave a hashtag viewer takeover either on any YouTube video, any comment, anywhere. Brian will find those things. He's a great gold digger. And also, he's great at that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we have a channel on our Discord, which the link is in the description below. Please sign up. It's a great place to hang out. We have a whole channel dedicated to this stuff, so you can just throw your question in there. You guys want to get rolling? I got this first question locked and loaded.
Do it up, man. Let's hear it.
All right. This comes to us from Hasib.
Yeah, I think the commercial one is super easy to answer because
it wasn't.
It wasn't. Yeah, Sony didn't take a loss on any headset. They sold it at profit from day one. And so the fact is that they made money on every single headset that was sold. They made money on every single game that was sold for it, because that's just how consoles work. And so as far as Sony's concerned, they made money on it. And so if you're losing money on something, then it can definitely be a commercial failure. But the fact is like the attach rate for PSVR games right from the beginning was super high. And so I think they saw a lot of people buying more games for their PSVR headset than most people even buy for their consoles. So making money in that regard was great for Sony. So commercial, no, I think it was a success.
I think so too. I mean, it should be noted that even though Quest 2s are selling like hotcakes, they are selling those at a loss. Facebook is not making profit on those things because they just want to get people in the ecosystem. And so they might sell more, but at the same time, Sony's actually making money on the ones that they sell. And that's an important thing. You know, they can keep funding it based on the income that they've taken in.
That's the other thing. I have yet to see another headset come out and say we've sold more than 5 million, which is the last number. You know, you got to imagine PSVR's
numbers. They don't tell numbers.
They don't disclose numbers at all.
They don't. Well, Quest 1, Go, Quest 2, they haven't said numbers.
You would think if they were outselling PSVR and they were the industry leader, they'd start revealing numbers.
Yeah, I would definitely do that to show that there is growth, to show that there is competition. Like, you know, that, hey, we are here and we're making a statement, and you know, now it's time for you to fight back and let this industry grow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, what about critical failure? You know, obviously, if Sony was making money off of it, you know, I know that you could look at PSVR and be like, well, look how it only sold 5 million units. And so you could look at it, you know, in comparison to like other video game peripherals in the world and be like, oh, it wasn't a commercial success that way. But looking at it compared to other VR headsets, I think we have to stick with, yes, you know, based on that market, it was a commercial success. But what about critically? Do you guys think it was a critical success or a critical failure?
It's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, it depends on which critics you're talking about, I guess, and it depends on when they were talking about it. Mm-hmm. These days, when people review a PSVR game, sometimes they're talking about the system as much as they're talking about the game. Like, I've noticed this in big like IGN reviews, and like people who don't usually focus on VR, they will talk about the PSVR platform in the review, and they'll say this is dated, there's better things out there, stuff like that, or like I wish this was different. And I guess that's inevitable at this point in the life cycle, because there are things with thumbsticks out there, and there's other options. But I don't know. It's tough because I've seen really positive articles about certain PSVR games. You know, Astrobot got a great reception across the board.
To that point, I'd like to say that I think, if anything, it was more of a marketing failure on their part. I feel like it was really pushed, and this is just my own opinion, but I feel like it was really pushed as like, this is going to be replacing flat screen games. And or at least people had that idea. People that didn't invest in VR, were familiar with it, thought that was coming, and that's why they got a lot of this backlash of, you know, we don't want you to get rid of our things. And I think that the platform itself was not evolved enough. I always quote Sean Layden for this genius quote that he said, where it was like, people want VR 5.0, but we have to go through 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 first. You know, when we've heard Sony talk about the PSVR in the past, they said that they really designed it when they designed it, they really had kind of like just putting on the headset and experiencing the games, sitting there and just kind of interacting with things. They weren't really prepared for everybody to be like, we want these advanced locomotion systems. We want these, and again,
That's
this
totally
has
true.
a lot to do with VR at that time, 4 years ago. Like, and even to this day, there are still things that have to be sorted out. There are still things that are being evolved. So I think VR as a whole is still developing, and it must be treated as such. Like it, they weren't necessarily, they said themselves that they sold more than what they expected to with PSVR, and they were surprised that, unless this was just PR stuff, but it didn't sound like it though. But they did make it sound like it exceeded the reach that they thought it would. And from my standpoint personally, I'm like, hell yeah, it exceeded what it's supposed to be able to do. Like the stuff, some of the games like Sirento and some of these experiences and being able to do these actions and stuff don't seem like they were supposed to be possible. And I think that they're a miracle that we have some of these games, and they're amazing.
Well, and the cool thing is these days, not these days, but technology works on a telescoping scale, basically, where so when NES came out, that had 2 buttons, right? And how long did it take us to get to the modern controllers that we have now, the DualSense and stuff like that? Decades, even just to get to the DualShock was decades after that NES controller. And so we've seen iteration much faster in VR than we did with original game consoles.
True.
Like, the way that the Quest and the PC headsets are going, you have to assume Sony's looking at that, and the next thing that they release is going to be a big step forward, but also something that can last for a while. But we're not going to have to wait that long for VR to get there.
20 years. Like it's not going to be a 20-year wait like that was.
Yeah, like we're close. We're on the cusp of it because the way stuff progresses is so quick these days. Like it's
exactly.
I think within a few years, every platform will be pretty goddamn cool as far as VR goes.
Yeah, that's they I've been seeing comments for like the last 2 years saying, oh, VR is not there yet. And a lot of people are assuming that in 10 years VR will be there. But I would be shocked if PSVR 2 on PlayStation 5 wasn't there enough for most people to jump on board and go, oh no, this is actually fantastic.
Yeah, in like 2 years max. Anymore. Yeah, right. In a couple years. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and here I'm saying likely later this year. It's like so the future is really, really close. In other words, and I think that kind of leads us into the second half of Hasib's question. He says, did the PSVR develop enough goodwill to make the second iteration an industry-leading headset? And I'm just going to go ahead and say absolutely.
Yeah. Let's quick answer this one. I'm going to say yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they've got good relationships with all the developers. Obviously there's been a ton of great PSVR games, a ton of great PSVR exclusive games. They've got all this in-house first-party stuff going on.
They got the money.
They do. But
I mean, Facebook has more money, but
exactly.
Yeah.
Facebook can make anything happen, but at the same time, it's hard for Facebook.
They can't make Horizon Zero Dawn VR happen ever in their wildest dreams. So
that is very.
They have the developers behind it, right? Yeah. I think Sony has the developers, and that's what really sets PSVR apart, is having that Sony gaming experience, Sony PlayStation gaming experience into VR. And that's kind of what we're striving toward.
And let me remind you that the Hitman team is working on a James Bond game. And this one was exclusive to Sony VR. PC people can't play it on VR.
Yep. Until
when? Who knows? Yeah. So if they keep that up, we might be playing James Bond VR at some point. And that's going to be
Resident Evil 7. Yeah. Exclusives. It's going to be critical moving forward.
Charlie Fist the Game Cat asks from Viewer Takeover, #Viewer Takeover, what would you do if Sony announced that there would be no PSVR 2? Would you stick to the original PSVR until it gets too outdated and developers won't put their games on the PlayStation Store? Or would you move on to a different VR headset? Charlie, this is a question that we get pretty frequently, and I feel like we've answered pretty frequently, but the last few months have been interesting, I guess, and we've certainly had a lot of conversations behind the scenes, and AJ's gotten a Quest 2, and so I thought it was maybe time to pose this question to the boys again. What do you guys think? What happens if there's no PSVR 2?
I mean, it's a hard question to answer because the idea that there wouldn't be a PSVR 2 is just silly.
Doesn't seem right.
Like
Yeah.
it's not gonna. It's
There
there
would have to be
will
something
there
crazy
will be a
happen.
PSVR 2.
Right.
Like that's. I feel like it's not even a question. But
It's not.
if there
Hypothetical.
weren't, I mean, there's still a lot of games that I do enjoy playing, and so if people were still actively playing those, if somebody said, "Hey, let's play Firewall tonight," or "Let's play Squadrons" or something, like, no reason not to go back and keep playing those. Although having a Quest, I guess I would continue to try out what's new and what's out there and stuff. But I really don't foresee Sony stopping the flow of new games anytime soon. Like, they still have to maintain this platform. It's not like they don't want to sell more PSVRs in the meantime till they get to the second one. And I think that, we've got Sniper Elite, we've got Hitman, we've got several after the fall. We've got a lot of big things coming up that I think people are just like assuming that because we don't have a hardware announcement, there isn't still stuff coming.
Right.
And so I think really, like, if you are a person who just has a PSVR, you don't need to go out and buy a Quest if you've got Hitman on the way. Like, you're fine. Just there's stuff coming. And I don't think that we should look at it in such a dour way, AJ.
I looked it up. I know what it means.
Whoa, nice.
There you go.
Nice. Dude, and a lot of stuff that's on Quest is slowly making its way over to PSVR as well. I mean, obviously Quest was the hot ticket item for a while, still is. Very, very popular headset. It's what seems to be what everybody's playing right now. And so the games that are getting there, like, obviously developers want to go where the money's at, and so that's a great place to start. And we've seen a lot of games, go through their beta phases and in their early access, quote unquote, periods over there and on Steam, and now are making their way over to PlayStation VR. So there's been sort of like a delay. I think Quest sort of put a delay on a lot of PSVR games that we maybe would have gotten earlier. But now 2021, we're finally getting all those games. And so I think it's going to be a really exciting year for current gen PSVR 1 gamers. That said, if there was no PSVR 2 announced in this hypothetical world that we're living in momentarily, I once upon a time said that if PSVR 2 doesn't happen, that I'm just going to go back to getting any Java waiting tables, and because PlayStation VR really is like it's what got me into VR. PlayStation is what kept me loving games for so long. I've been a PlayStation owner since PS1 of early days, and that's sort of been my go-to console all this time. I've always had like a secondary console and sometimes a tertiary console, but that's always been my primary one. And so that's why PlayStation VR has been my primary headset, even though I've got a Quest sitting right here next to me. And I'm running at this point I'm running a PSVR channel, so that's like that's where all my time has to go. The second I'm playing even a non-VR game or non-PSVR game on some other headset, I feel like I'm like, oh man, I'm not getting work done. I'm not accomplishing stuff because this is a full-time job and way more than more than most people expect. This is like a 60-hour minimum a week job, and so people are like, why aren't you playing this on another headset? I was like, because I'm trying to run a small business over here. So.
Yeah, it's funny. I was getting an Uber ride the other day, and this guy was a pretty talkative guy, and we started chatting about stuff. And the channel came up, and I mentioned that you were doing this full time. You had been able to quit your job, and he was like, "Oh man, living the dream. That sounds awesome." Like he gets to do whatever he wants, and it's all. And I was like, I don't know if you understand exactly how it is.
I miss free time,
glamorous
Dave.
at all. Yeah, it's not glamorous.
Remember dates and relationships and stuff like that?
Oh well, that's a whole COVID thing. I can't even think about dating right now. Like,
also true.
Until everyone's vaccinated, I'm like, I'll stay here.
But just to follow up on it, it's like I do think Quest is pretty cool. I think what it's doing is great. I do love that I can hook it up to PC, and honestly, like I've tried to go back to flat screen gaming, over the last couple months since I've last made that statement. And, even games that are supposed to be my bread and butter, like Resident Evil 2 Remake. It's a remake of one of my favorite games of all time. I'm just sitting there and playing like 6 feet away from my TV going, maybe if I sit closer to the TV.
Sit closer, yes.
Maybe if I sit closer. And then I'm like 5 inches away and I'm like, this still isn't cutting it. And so VR is always going to be where I head, even if it's not led by PlayStation. And so yeah, I mean, anything is possible if somehow apocalyptic times happen and PlayStation no longer does VR. We're gonna stick to VR. And we'll figure out we'll figure out that path moving forward. I just don't think it's something we
That's
really
not
have
going
to
to
worry
happen.
about.
I mean, that's not going to happen. So,
And I would instantly change my channel into nothing but cats reacting to fidget spinners.
hey,
You could quit your job
I'd
tomorrow.
I'd be like, why have I been breaking my back so hard for this, doing things the hard way,
Yeah.
when I could really just milk YouTube and not give a shit and be so much more successful with it. No, I'm kidding.
where are you going to find all these cats then?
I don't know. I will. I look. I love video games. I've been playing before there was VR. I was playing lots of video games.
You were playing video games before VR too?
It wasn't. It
Wow.
wasn't.
I didn't know we
just
had
VR.
so much in common. Do you
now,
also like music?
I do like music a lot, actually. But I would, I do this because I like to do this. I have fun with this, and I love PSVR and I love VR in general because it really showed me a new way to experience video games when I was kind of getting tired of them, to some degree. I thought they were getting a little too samey, in many different ways, and I don't know, man. Like, with PS5, I'm definitely interested in playing some of these games like Ghostwire Tokyo and Gran Turismo 7 and Returnal looks awesome. I have a lot of interest in these games. So if this were to happen, I also have this Quest 2, of course, and I think it's awesome. I think it's great. I don't have a PC yet that could like really get everything out of it. But I like it for what it is. I've never been a big PC gamer anyways, and usually I like the accessibility and the ease of use and just the fun that console and this has to offer.
Standalone, yeah.
For me, I would have to just kind of feel it out. I would probably start trying new things for sure, whether it be PC or flat screen or all the above, or movies. I don't know. Like I would.
It's incredible, dude. Yeah,
like I would. Well, I just mean like reviewing movies or something.
Oh,
like,
I see what you're saying.
Like for the YouTube.
I'm just gonna watch movies in VR.
It's really just I would just really follow what I enjoy doing and what makes me happy and whatever the community, of course, would have to play a big role in that, because you guys watching are a big reason that I love doing this and stuff, and so it would just it would just all those things would have to combine and just kind of just play it by ear.
All right. Well, you guys want to roll right into this third question here?
Let's do it,
What are
man.
you
Nice and
Yeah.
fast. Let's
We've
wrap this
got
thing up.
Peepo from the Discord says #viewer takeover like a pro. He says with PSVR exclusives like Astrobot, Blood and Truth, and can't forget Resident Evil 7. When they have a sequel, do you think we'll get a remastered version to be able to play on PSVR 2?
Okay, so I think what he's asking is like when Miles Morales came out, there was a remastered Spider-Man to go with it. Like you get the new game, but then they'll also remaster the prequel. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I would say that's what we're looking at here, and
so, okay.
just in making a lot of popular PSVR 1 games available on PSVR 2, because I think the limitation right off the bat is that obviously PSVR 2 isn't going to be using light tracking. It's not going to be using the same kind of locomotion system. And so there's a lot of hurdles to overcome to make these things cross-compatible, to the point where like I don't see that happening. I don't see
Astrobot. Yeah, I don't think Astrobot is so intrinsically linked to the DualShock 4 that you can't do it with another controller, right? Like how else would you? There's no touchpad.
If PSVR 2 had inside out tracking and it could see the controller, remember the light bar is front facing on the DualSense.
Oh, I guess if they track
DualSense support.
Yeah, you're right. I guess they have to have DualSense tracking support in some way, because
there is a way. Something like, but they would have, that game would still have to probably be doing well. Something like Beat Saber obviously would be something that you would think would get updated. It depends on the game. Nicholas Doucette is still part of Sony. He actually was promoted. So you could see something like that happening, but really, I
can't see how you'd remaster Astrobot.
It would be such a pain in the ass. It would be such a pain in the ass.
It looks as good as it can possibly look, and the only limitation I think is probably the resolution of the headset. And I really think that they just put it on a PS5. It would already look really good if they just unlocked the resolution.
Well, I mean, I think the fact is that right now, no matter how good games look, I mean, Blood and Truth looks phenomenal. Like it looks crazy good, and it already looked crazy good before PlayStation 5. The fact is though, like if some of these games are going to get sort of locked in with light tracking over on PSVR 1, two move controllers, again with light tracking, like you're going to have to update the control scheme, and then give the developers the option to take advantage of the PlayStation 5. I do think that just having that huge library of games, on day one or sometime close to day one is going to be really beneficial to not only the gamers but also the developers who didn't really make their money the first time around. All right, you guys, we are way over our time limit. It's going to be another episode of Viewer Takeover. Thank you. If you didn't like the questions that we answered today, I mean, it's only one person to blame, and that's you. You should have asked us some really good questions. We would have found them and answered them. But I thought these were really good questions, so thank you very much for everyone who submitted the questions. Remember, hashtag Viewer Takeover in the comments below if you have a question for us, or join our Discord and leave your question in the hashtag Viewer Takeover channel. Also, change your name to GameCat. Put hashtag GameCat in the comments below so we can give you a shout out on next week's show. And hit us up on patreon.com/withoutparolegames if you like what you see and want to support the channel in the best way possible. Ooh, finger guns. Where'd that come from? Remember, subscribe to Dave over at Dave Station VR and subscribe to AJ over at The Underground, PSVR Underground. My name is Brian Paul from PSVR Without Parole. This is Viewer Takeover, and we're out. We good?
I think we're good. Oh, wait, just 1 sec. He's got his little finger up.
That is a little finger. Who's got a little finger?
Who's got a
little?
Who's got a
Oh, who's got a little? Whoa, that tickles.